This is all new territory. All new territory. Very good. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let me tell you about myself here. Okay, so as you heard, my name is Rick Koyman. I own Trade Secrets Inspections. There's my contact stuff. You'll get it later. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is with home inspectors, the who, the why, and the how much, how to work with us, what we can do for you, what to look out for. A little about myself. I am from Ohio, east side of Cleveland, a small town. I went to Kent State University. I have a bachelor's in aerospace, of all things, and I was supposed to be an airline pilot, essentially, but that didn't work out, and I have all my flight ratings, and I taught flight instruction for quite a while. Additionally to that, throughout school, I've been building homes. So I started building homes when I was about 14 years old. My father's a plumber. I've been on jobs since I can remember. If it's a house, I know what's in it. A little about ourselves here. We are part of INACHI. We'll get back to INACHI and what that is and how that's relevant to you guys. I started this in 2016. We're out of North Naples, off of Immokalee. It's me and my wife that run the business right now, so we're very small business, family oriented. I'm very customer centric. There's a lot of guys out there that are about numbers and want to do 3-4 inspections a day. I'd rather do one good one and make sure everybody's happy and everybody's covered. Additionally, I'm a member of FOBI. Again, we'll come back to why this is relevant. And I'm certified in the tile roof industry, so I'm considered a roof expert, I guess. I get to climb on them all the time, I know that. That's not the greatest thing. Okay, so these are my certifying bodies, okay? I started off in INACHI. As you can see, it's International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. INACHI is global. It's kind of like an online place you go to be a home inspector. Throughout the world, they're all over the place. And what that comes down to is, well, they're not real specific. Okay, I mean, they're pretty general. And then, it's because of that, I went in with Florida and FOBI. There's only one association in Florida, and it is FOBI. Everybody else in Florida is going to be an international or national inspector. About 10% of the inspectors are FOBI associated. And being FOBI associated, we specialize in Florida. We go to conferences quarterly for weekend training. Yay, 3 days of learning. And we focus on just stuff in Florida, particularly the South Florida area, because North Florida is kind of like the rest of the country in a lot of ways. Everybody likes to talk about how great they are. And all the inspectors out there, there's guys out there that have been doing this since before licensing started, and they like to tell you how many tens of thousands of inspections they've done and all their certifications, and that's great. These are mine. Yeah. Okay, so what is the definition of a home inspection? Okay, so straight up from Wikipedia, to be very general, I went with this one. A home inspection is a limited, non-invasive examination of the condition of a home, often in connection with a sale, but not always. And it describes the condition of the home at that time of inspection. Those are the key words, at that time. It doesn't guarantee future conditions, efficiencies, life expectancies, any of that kind of stuff. It just says, when I was here in this window, this is what it was. Things change. As soon as I left, it fell apart. Believe me. For the state has, of course, its own definition. Theirs is a little more specific, but again, very general. They say that the readily accessible installed systems and components of a home, the structure, the electrical system, the HVAC system, the roof, plumbing, interior components, exterior components, site conditions affecting the structure, for the purposes of providing a written report. Okay. As this goes through, of course, I'm sure you've seen your requirements. It gets very general, and it says stuff like you can do a representative number of reoccurring items. So if I have more than one window, per the law, I only have to check maybe 2 of them. And then I've checked a representative number. That is the case when you deal with InterNACHI and ASHI and the guys that want to do a lot of inspections in a day. They're going to go straight by the SOP. Listen, this is all I have to do, that's all I did. And they get complaints all the damn time, but they come to you guys first. Because you generally the customer's point of contact that the first stop is they're going to come and complain to you guys. So picking the cheapest inspector, which is often the motivation for you guys when you're shopping for your buyer, you know, they want 3 quotes and we're going to go with the cheapest one. Probably not the best move when you're buying a house, but they're out there. So what is the number one goal? What is your number one goal? It's pretty obvious. You want to sell a property, right?
Yeah.
You want to close that deal. I want that check. I got a different answer. Really what you want are happy customers. Why? Because they're going to tell their friends and they're going to keep you busy the next day. And it's more important that you take the time and satisfy the customer and maybe look at a few properties and it takes a little longer, then you just close that deal and move on, and then you have the angry customer. So this is where I focus on. Again, I come from construction. I've been down every road of it you can imagine. I've seen the nasty side and, you know, the people that care and the people that don't. I'm sick of being in the game of building and being the numbers guy and all that stuff. I like happy customers, so this is where I went. And it's sort of like teaching again to me, so it's a little more back to it. Again, the real reason for this is it reduces your risk, reduces my risk. This is a game of liability to me. Everything I do is a liability in this. So when I write a report, when you're reading a report from an inspector, you got to understand what that inspector is saying is CYA all day long. I mean, it's all about, listen, I did my job, this is what it was, and this is all I can say about it. Okay, so here's your guys' risk. This guy, James Messick, is an attorney out in Denver. He did a study last year just seeing what were the most common reasons that realtors got sued in the past year or so. And that was what he came up with. So septic systems, that's a tough one. Florida's specific on a lot of things down here. They want licensed contractors for everything. So when it comes to like a septic system, we have to bring in a septic contractor to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then they're gonna say, hey, well, we can't do it if we don't pump the tank. Because how can I look at a tank if it's full? So right away, it's $550. That's solar stuff. Water intrusion and mold, that's a big one I deal with, okay? That's where we can really help you. That's the difference between a good and bad inspector. We'll come back to how we do that better than other people. Water rights, this is a lot of paperwork stuff that you guys are gonna learn to deal with. Permits, that's something I can also help you with that a lot of people don't. I'll show you how we do that. Then all the property detail stuff, the rights and the land ownership, and that's more in your title agent's arena than it is ours. Most realtors aren't, or inspectors aren't going to do anything with this for you guys. Okay, circling back. Now, ASHI is one of the home places that most inspectors came from. So back in the day before licensing, ASHI existed, and it is the American Society of Home Inspectors, again, national. And those guys are kind of the old guard. They're the ones that say, hey, I was around before inspector, and my inspector license was number 3. Fantastic. Again, InterNACHI, same idea, very easy. It's 120 hours online course. Go take the state test. You're a home inspector. Doesn't mean you're gonna be good at it. But you guys will call and get that cheapest guy who is that guy, okay? Again, we talked about Fabio and why Fabio was important and what we did there. Okay, so about our business and what we do. Obviously, we provide your full home inspection. In my inspections, I use all kinds of different cameras. I use 360 cameras, I use thermal cameras. I put it all in the report. If there's a reason to put a video in there, you get it. The reports are online based, they're off of a software system, so they're all very interactive. You can print them out, but as soon as you print them out, you lose all the functionality. And that's one of the things in Naples you gotta learn to deal with, because there's still quite a few customers out there that aren't into the computer world. Let's just say it nicely. And I don't do it. Again, okay, so we use thermal. I use thermal on all my stuff. And I'll show you here in a little bit why that makes a difference. And I also use FLIR Tools. FLIR Tools is the leader. Again, buy good equipment. If you're gonna be an inspector and you're gonna do good work, you gotta have good equipment. You can go to Home Depot and buy $10 meters, but they're not certified, they're not tested. So when you guys are getting those cheap inspectors and you're like, but this doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. We do insurance stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard any of these things. Wind mitigation, 4-point inspections, and roof certs. These are the big deals in Florida. This is what really stymies your sales a lot of times. Big one is this one, the 4-point inspection. And most of the time what's gonna ruin your sale is one of two things, the roof or the pipes. One of two ways that property is not gonna be insurable, essentially, and then that customer is gonna go, well, then what do I do? Well, you can either replace those things or find a different property. But the more you get used to what to look for, you can kind of learn to see these things as you're going through these properties, because it's not that much of a rocket science to know that if a roof is 15 years old or older, it's probably not gonna get insured. If you have what's called polybutylene pipe in a house, it is definitely not gonna get insured. So I do them all the time, every day. I'm like, oh, look, poly.
Yeah, we see that a lot. We had an insurance company in last week, and that's what we were talking about too, was the poly plumbing, and we see that happen all the time in these condo units here.
Yep, yeah, it's prevalent all over. And people argue about it, but you know what, I just say, hey, call your insurance agent. You don't have to argue with me. Just go try to get it insured, and then let me know how it goes.
There are like three, there's a few, but.
There's a few ways to get
it's very
coverage.
limited.
There's a few ways to get a year, a construction year essentially, or some will do no water damage policies, so they'll just exclude it. The wind discount program, it goes with the 4-point, not gonna really get into it. And the roof cert is, again, the big thing in Florida is roofs. We do indoor air quality testing, so we test for mold. We also test for radon. A lot of people dismiss radon. Radon is a gas that comes out of rocks, essentially. It's a product of radioactive decay. It can be anywhere. Geologists say, there's no radon in Florida. I find it every day. I don't know what to tell you, but I find it all the time. It is often in the construction, in the concrete, in the block. It comes up in the water. It comes through the pipe chases. I found it in high-rise buildings, the penthouse. I found it in this unit and not the one next door. I mean, there's no telling where, when you're gonna find it. I often tell people, listen, if you're not gonna test a property for radon and it hasn't been mitigated, then that buyer is buying that risk. Because when they sell it, the next buyer will probably test it. So what did you do? You bought the problem. When you could have just spent $200 and had it tested and known before you bought it, and maybe you still have to pay for the mitigation, but at least you know before you buying it what you're getting. Again, it's the...
Is that part of it, just or is that an extra thing?
They're all extra stuff.
Okay.
The mold testing, you need to do 2 samples to do a mold test, because it's a comparative test. You take a sample outside, you take a sample inside, and you go, wow, this is different. There must be mold inside. Each one of those tests is generally $100. So it starts off at somewhere around $250, $300, depending on who you call. radon tests are about $200.
Rick, can I ask you, on the
Yeah.
radon test, how long does the home have to be closed up?
72 hours. And people complain this time of year. I just had one yesterday, put in at 10 a.m. The homeowner freaked out because he couldn't leave his house open, demanded that we take the unit out. 6 hours later, we went and pulled the unit out. It had to be paid for. There's no valid test results, but the machine has to make its money, and the homeowner, we all agreed that this was gonna happen, and then at the last minute, the homeowner says, oh, hell, get this thing out of my house. It's this little tiny box.
But you can,
It's not looking at you, I promise. I don't know.
Rick, you can do it while people are still living there?
Oh, absolutely.
You
It just sits and
minimize
monitors.
opening and
It
closing
just-
of the doors?
Yeah, the idea is with radon is when a building is closed up, when you close the envelope of the building, it accumulates. So like at night when you're sleeping, you wake up in the morning and you've been sleeping in this accumulation of radon gas over and over again, you end up with lung cancer. If you just open a window, then it doesn't accumulate. So when we're testing, if the doors are continuously opened or the sliders left open, well, it negates the test. There's no reason that we can't tell anything. And it takes a solid 24-hour period of recording is what we're looking at. And it's generally done over a 48-hour window where we find stability in how that house was being opened and closed. Because the thing is really just a pressure monitor with a bunch of gas sensors in it. So it knows if you do this to it, it feels a little pressure switch and it records it. If somebody opens a window on the other side of the house, there's a pressure change in the house, it records it. But it's not looking at anybody, it's just recording the environment. But yeah, they take 72 hours, and right now, that's a big problem. There's so many deals going on right now, and there's only like maybe 100 machines in Naples to use. And they take 3 days per, so yeah,
Yeah, you can just
we're
imagine.
2 weeks out, Hey, our due diligence period's up, but we wanna do a radon test. You're gonna have to get an extension. You're gonna have to write hey, we wanna do a radon test extension clause. It's the only choice we can do right now. Otherwise you're just not doing it, and then you're leaving your people at risk. Water quality testing, that's a big one for well water. A lot of people don't do it. You can do a coliform test. It's not too bad. It's $100 or so. A full panel test is $550, but it'll tell you everything that's in your water. The EPA and the Department of Health says if you live on a well, you should have your well tested every year because the groundwater is constantly changing. And just because it was good last year doesn't mean it's clean this year. I don't do too many of them though.
Interesting,
Yeah, really.
especially with all the stuff.
Chinese drywall, yeah, that was a big deal. I don't even hear about it anymore. It's pretty much dealt with. It's included in everybody's general inspection at this point. Home inspector goes around and can identify, oh wow, look at this weird stuff going on. Let me go check somewhere where I can see the back of some drywall. That is Chinese drywall. I haven't seen it in quite a while. Of course, we do all the added stuff, pools, spas, boat docks, whatever. Again, all these things are gonna be add-ons for most all inspectors out there. You're gonna get a standard inspection, which is just the standard SOP, which was the definitions we looked at. And that SOP is gonna vary based on whether you picked an ASHI guy, a NACHI guy, or a FOBI guy. Generally, you're not gonna know unless they're FOBI people and they're like, hey, we're FOBI. We do it different. And then I do specifically, because I come from contracting, I do a lot of other stuff, remodels, re-roofs, projects, oversights. What's this in my house? Question. I do a lot of those. Search and destroy, find the ghost. I have some of these are my cards. I'll leave them, I gotta go grab them because I was late. But this is our general services, so in our general inspection, I do 140 point plus inspection, that's what's in my template, depending on the structure, but generally there's that many things that get checked. I include warranties with my stuff. We do pre-sale inspections or listing inspections, and we include a 120-day warranty that's transferable, so that's cool. A lot of realtors will give their buyer a year warranty with their purchase as a CYA. So we give it a little bit of a buffer to help people. It's really like, we inspected the property, and when we were there, it was great, and the appliances were good, and the fridge isn't that old, and then the homeowner moved in and the fridge doesn't work. Well, this will probably pay for the fridge. And it doesn't hurt me, as opposed to making an insurance claim, which I'm not gonna do. This is just a package I buy for each customer, CYA for me. I do building permit histories. We'll see that here in a shortly. I think that's very helpful. I get a lot of feedback from most of my realtors that are regular users love this, because they're like, man, it is such a great platform. It's so easy to give it to the customer and say, this, you come in and it looks like it's all redone, but there's no permits. Well, that seems weird. I also do cost translations. Some guys do include prices. Some guys say just the price of the component plus repair. People in Miami, it's practice for home inspectors in Miami to always include prices. They're the only ones in Florida that do that. I personally don't write prices on it because I'm not writing an estimate. So I'm not gonna answer that question for anybody. What I do is I send it out to a third-party estimator. They take my report and they rewrite it into a dollars and cents report, and then they send it back. So the day later after you get your inspection report, you're gonna get a cost translation report if you go down that package road.
That's great. It's great to have in-house.
Yeah, it works really well for people that get into the program. It is expensive for me, so I can't just include it in everything, but I
Sure.
have packages where I say, okay, listen, this is what everybody really generally needs. You need an inspection and you need your insurance documents. Well, with that package, I'm gonna include these extra reports, and then you get everything, and it's simple and it's cost effective that way. Recall check is an insurance program that goes with it. It just checks your appliances every year for manufactured recalls, and once you set up in it, they're for life. And they'll send you homeowner information and updates. I do lots of customer contacts, so post-inspection reviews, I'm always calling my customers, making sure that they understand what's going on, making sure they're not upset with you guys. Like, what the hell, you told me to hire this inspector and he came in, because you come in and you're like, I love this house, and then they call me and I come in and I write a 50-page report with 35 things wrong with it, and they're like, oh my God, it's falling apart. No, there's no perfect homes.
No.
There is not a perfect home out there. What I like to say to people is there's no bad homes, there's just bad purchase prices. So if you don't know what you're buying, you probably paid too much. Again, package services, individual services, all that stuff we talked about. Pricing, you'll get this card, this is standard pricing. I'm pretty much standard market price. I mean, up or down, you're gonna find variations. I would be leery of anybody that's cheaper than these, because I'm pretty competitive on my pricing. But there are some older guys out there that will charge you quite a bit more. Maybe they're worth it. I'll make sure you guys get these. So how does it work? I set up an inspection, and this is the first email that goes out. You get a username, password, a link, click it, put it in. You end up here, this is the login page when you click the link, and then you end up on our dashboard. This is HomeGauge. You'll probably get associated with HomeGauge as you do more and more transactions. There's a couple of fundamental service inspection softwares out there that you'll get a name, and then it'll have, for the agents, all your customers on it. So it'll be this dashboard. It's really nice. So here you sign in and you go, okay, well, I need you to sign the agreement. Click the agreement. Oh, no, what did I do? There we go. You go to the dashboard page, it starts there, it's internet, so you click on buttons. People don't understand that all the time. They're like, but it's not there. I'm like, click the damn button. Okay, so this is how you're just progressing through our software. This is a report that I wrote. This is down from the cover page, interactive table of contents. Just to give you an idea what our reports look like. We start off with our 360 pictures that describe the property in that section, what's pertinent in that topic, and then how we inspected it, and this goes down. And this is, after this checkbox, you'll see, these are the things we found wrong, and then there'll be pictures and comments. These are the 360 photos. They're fun. I get to climb on roofs all the time, so I go, click. And then the homeowner doesn't have to climb up on their roof, and they can see what it looks like, and everybody loves it. Thermal, okay, I talked about this previous, and I was gonna come back to it. This is why it's a big deal to me. This was a brand new house, maybe a month ago. New builders, they hate inspectors. They insist their stuff's perfect. You can't see anything, right? I pulled out the thermal and I'm like, oh, look at that. You're seriously, you got water, water, water. I told the contractor, I'm like, listen, you got an AC leak right there and you got 2 roof leaks over here. Oh, hell no. This was a big argument. But I was right and they fixed it all.
Yeah, because you need to know.
Yeah, right, exactly. This is where everybody, once they become practiced at this stuff, they go straight to this page. So you start at the little table of contents, you click on summary, and you end up here and you skip all those 50 pages. It just breaks down without the pictures. I have it separated between, you need to fix it, you need to know about it. You know, these are cosmetic issues, whatever you can do whatever. All these things are negotiations, okay? I hear this all the time. Well, the buyer has to, or the seller has to fix this. No, they don't. The seller doesn't have to do a damn thing. Actually, the seller has to do one thing by law. They have to disclose what they know. Other than that, it's a negotiation. So this is why this is so important to you guys. This is your negotiating tool for your customer. This is the cost breakdown. This is my outside source I use. They're called Major Domo. And they send this fancy, it's a weird name, Domo report. But anyways, they take my report and they break it down into dollars and cents, and then it goes into, I don't have it, but it goes into each, it'll break down those categories and say, this for this guy, and this is what they need to do, and it gives you dollar ranges, and you can pick the low end or the high end, and it's just a tool to kind of work with.
Helps give your customers some facts. So you're not
Yeah, and for the
coming
people
from
that
you.
aren't really familiar with doing the repairs and the remodels, and you know, it's all new, it means a lot, honestly. It's the relevance of the report, if you ask me. This is the permit pack I put in there. This is built by BuildFax. And they have these components. If you click on this tab, it'll pull up all the permits. They're amazing. I search and can't find permits, and these people find them. I'm like, where the hell did you get that? I use this all the time because of that. These are my warranty packages. Of course, we do all these warranties. 90 days sewer guard, mold safe, roof leaks. This is an added package for if there's a structural problem or foundation issue, there's a concern. People are, I just had one of these a few weeks ago. The house had settled a little bit. They wanted to know, well, is it gonna keep moving? How am I supposed to know? All I can tell you is what I see. I see that there's cracking all over here, and this all relates to that, and this is what I see. And the homeowner was uncomfortable about, if you think you want the property but you don't want the risk, we can sell you a coverage package that'll give you $100,000 of structural coverage to make sure that you're not taking that risk. It helps sometimes. Recall check rate on 18-month is the package that you guys generally include when you have a sale, the big year program. We have an 18-month program. There's lots of residential warranty programs out there. I like this one, it's pretty good. There are some others I've heard that do coverage on appliances a little longer than this one does.